Welcome to the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, a program dedicated to uncovering the unified nature of reality and humanity's ever-evolving place as truly galactic beings. For more information on the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit us online at www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome to the Science of Magic, a place where science and magic come together to transform fact into evolving truth. We're coming to you through the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net. We can also be found on www.thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. This hour we'll be exploring the arms of the angels. I was 4 years old, my little brother only 3 months. My parents were divorced, and we lived alone in a small hovel of a downstairs apartment with my mother. One winter night, my mother announced she was going to walk to the corner store for milk. We didn't have a car. She told me my brother should stay asleep, but I was a big girl now, and I was to watch him. She'd be right back. She left me there totally alone to care for my baby brother. I was terrified. Mom had been gone for what seemed like hours when my brother woke crying. I drug a chair to his crib and climbed up so I could reach him. I spoke to him and patted him, but he continued to wail, his face getting alarmingly red. What would Mom do? Well, she'd pick him up and rock him. But I was so small. Could I manage it? I didn't want to drop him. He'd worked himself into a fine temper and was crying so hard I feared he wouldn't take his next breath. I had to do something. Someone please help me, I begged, to no one in particular. Suddenly the hair rose on the back of my neck, and a warm presence wrapped what looked like wings around me from behind. Strong arms supported mine, and we lifted my brother from his crib and carried him over to the rocking chair. I sat with my brother on my lap and rocked for all I was worth, with my eyes squeezed shut. I could still feel the wings and the arms wrapped around me, and I was afraid to look. When Mom finally returned from her boyfriend's house, she found us both sleeping in the rocker. I remember her interrogating me as to how we got there, but I had no answers for her. None at all. While pursuing my degree in religious studies, one of the greatest dilemmas I faced while pondering spirituality, religion, and my personal experience was the discrepancy between all the spirits I had seen since early childhood and the one God teachings of most religions. This really came to a head for me while studying with my first shamanic teacher, who was a Lakota elder, medicine man, shaman, and a devout Christian. You speak of the spirits, of the directions, of the water, air, earth, and fire. You talk to the spirits of the animals and the helping spirits, I challenged him one day. Yes, Wiyaka, this is so. Yet you say you're a Christian? I am. Well, what of this only one God stuff? All are of the Great Spirit. What do you mean? The Great Spirit is large, so large we cannot comprehend. Great Spirit is also merciful, so when we need to be taught or comforted, Wankan-Tonkan splits into smaller pieces that he may be reached without damaging us with the power of all that is. What about angels? I asked, remembering my experience when I was 4. All are angels with different names. Well, that was about as clear as mud, I thought mulishly, but from past experience I knew it would do no good to ask more questions. Under his tutorage, I learned to commune with the spirits of nature. I call upon the spirits of the directions and those of the elements. My helping spirits are more real to me than most people, and in my hours of greatest need, I will feel the light brush of feathers as I'm enfolded in the arms of the angels. In all the years I knew him, my teacher never wavered in his faith in Christ. How is Christ different than the angels? I finally asked him one day. He made the ultimate sacrifice. He became human. Years later, I've finally come to understand, at least somewhat, what my old teacher was saying. God, Great Spirit, or Wankan-Tonkan, is a totality of all frequency, all-knowing and ever-present. Angels are different divinations of that unified frequency that can interface with and sometimes be perceived by humans. Angels' names are vocalization or tonal representation of their specific frequency, as are the colors associated with each. By that definition, the spirits of nature, of the animals, the directions, and so on, are all angels. But then, I'm by no means an expert on the subject. My guest this hour specializes in angels, and I'm sure will shed a lot more light, so to speak, on the subject than I can ever hope to. Belinda J. Womack is the author of Lessons of the 12 Archangels, Divine Intervention in Daily Life. Belinda is a spiritual counselor who's been channeling angelic wisdom to support individuals, couples, and families for over 25 years. She's the creator of the 12 Archangels University, an online change your everyday reality to heaven on earth educational platform. She's a scientist by training with a dual master's degree in microbiology and environmental science. Her website is www.belindawomack.com. I will introduce Belinda and her angelic friends after this short break. You are listening to The Science of Magic. This and other innovative episodes can always be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Searching through the night, one people, one nation, searching for the light.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
One people, one nation, searching through the night. One people, one nation, searching for the light. One people, one nation, coming from the stars.
Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our very special guest this hour is Belinda Womack, scientist, spiritual counselor, and channel. She's the author of Lessons from the 12 Archangels, Divine Intervention in Daily Life. Her website is www.belindawomack.com. Belinda, thank you for your many wonderful contributions to bridging spirit and the mundane, and a big thanks for joining us on The Science of Magic.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've really been looking forward to this. And Belinda, in my experience, the light is only as clear as the window through which it shines, and the clarity of the kind that you demonstrate requires a lot of personal processing. Can you advise our listeners on the processing required to accurately hear the angels and how to obtain it?
Well, it very much goes with your teaching that you gave at the beginning of the show, that what we really need to do is to clear out any kind of negative thoughts or low vibration feelings, focus on love and gratitude, and then connect with that beautiful child that lives within us, because that little child will connect us in a pure and clear way to our intuition, and that's the easiest way to connect with our angels.
I've noticed in my practice, oftentimes parents will bring children in because they're seeing spirits, and the parents don't see them, and so they're really, of course, concerned for the child. But more often than not, over time, the parents' lack of belief or fear actually kind of shuts down the child's ability to see and hear what's actually there for them. Have you experienced that as well?
Well, sure, that's what happens with the logical, rational brain. Children use their creative imagination. They're so plugged into their feelings and their intuition. And so what they're seeing is really real. They haven't been programmed yet that only what is real is what we can hold in our hands or smell with our noses. So what we want to do, of course, is encourage children to keep their hearts and their minds open and to really support them in communicating with their angels and keeping that connection with the other side.
So, by supporting these children, we aren't invalidating their experience, and they have a better opportunity of hanging on to it even as they start to get programmed by society and the school system. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely.
How did you first meet these angels?
Well, I first met the Archangel Gabriel over 25 years ago when I was working on a bone marrow sample in a research laboratory. I call it my out-of-laboratory experience. I was just doing a normal experiment, and all of a sudden I found myself in a stone room that opened up, and the light came through, and there was Archangel Gabriel. And Gabriel said to me, "Belinda, we have new work for you to do. You're going to help human beings to reconnect with their divinity. They're going to rewrite their childhood stories so that they can really remember that they are God's children. They are divine beings." And that's how it all began.
How did you know it was Gabriel?
Oh, they made sure that it was easy for me to recognize the angel. That Gabriel had a big trumpet and these beautiful robes, and Gabriel said, "This is Gabriel," so that helped too.
Yeah, that always helps if they identify themselves, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
now how do you communicate with them? That sounded like it was spontaneous, but it seems to me in your practice you do it at will at this point. How do you do that?
Well, I go through my little child that lives within my heart. So it's my little Belinda that connects with the angels. And to me, not just the 12 archangels, but guardian angels and fairies, all of the angels, they appear as beautiful colors. And it's just that if I have that desire that I want to communicate, then they are there. But I really want to say that angels communicate in results. They like to show that they exist through results. Like when we ask for their help, that's when we experience their help and we can have that proof, then that's when we can say, "Hey, my angels were there and they were helping me."
Do you find you have particular ones that are with you most of the time, like a guardian angel you mentioned?
I believe that we have communities of angels, committees of angels that help us depending on what we need. So for myself personally, yes, I have a team of 3 guardian angels, and then I work with these 12 big wings that I call them.
As opposed to the big guns?
Well, I do call them the big guns too. Which just means that they're big powers. They only work with the power of love, which is the greatest power that there is.
That's the one thing that I've really noticed in my practice is there's times when I call on one of the archangels to help me because someone's got a spirit on deck that doesn't belong with them, or any number of things that are kind of a larger job than I feel I'm able to do. And they, even when they're being absolutely fierce, it's a fierceness of love, not a fierceness of hatred or battle. And that I find quite amazing.
Absolutely.
Can you speak more to that?
Well, I just agree with you. That's exactly what I experienced, too. It's just important to remember that all of these helpers and help in heaven, and I just ask your audience to forgive me because I have such a loud echo, so it makes it a little confusing for me. So these angels they're just so real and they are so powerful. And they actually work to empower us, to help us to remember that we have power, so they don't let us give our power away. They empower us, and then we kind of work as a stronger team together. Have you experienced that too?
Absolutely. I years ago realized that in and of myself I can do absolutely nothing. Is simply my ability to connect with people and beings that are larger than I and more pure than I that enables me to help other people. And so I'm so grateful. How has channeling the angels changed your life?
Well, it's changed everything about my life. Absolutely everything about my life.
As a scientist, how do you reconcile your communication with angels and the world of science?
Well, they prove that they are real. Every time I ask for the angels to come through and help, they come through and they help.
So you can't see bacteria either, is that correct?
So we can't see bacteria?
Right.
We can if we have a
Like you say, the
microscope.
world is one of science, our ordinary world, and if you can't see it, it doesn't exist. And yet, unaided, our eyes can't see bacteria, and we can't see angels oftentimes until we put ourselves in a state to do so. So whether it's using a microscope for the bacteria or connecting with the child within to access the angels, they kind of are both the same in a way, aren't they?
I agree with you. I do.
So what's the difference between an archangel and your basic garden variety angel?
Well, archangel just means that they help us to bridge our egos to our hearts, our egos to our souls. So if you look at the word arch and archangel, it just means build a bridge. They say that they are not above humans or above other angels. They believe in oneness, that we are all here to support one another, and that they do not support hierarchy. They say that that's a human ego kind of thing. We like to see ourselves as either above or below.
Would you mind defining ego?
Ego is the part of our human brain that God gave us that has the ability to believe in separation. It has the ability to believe in fear. And so from ego's perception, we are separate from each other. We are separate from our Creator. We are separate from the trees and planets and stars. And so, our whole journey here is to learn how to bring ego home to our hearts, that part of us that never steps out of oneness.
So the ego is the part that stepped out of oneness. And, ego gets a really bad rap, I think, in that people say, oh, you're coming from ego, this or that. But isn't it really a place of separation and fear more than pride?
Well, sure. And God gave us an ego. We are here to learn through fear how to experience love and to really value and appreciate love. And we can't do that if we don't experience the opposite of love, which is fear. So that ego is very, very important.
So ego is what gives us an identity in this polarized world, and so it has a function as long as we don't get lost in it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it has a very important mission because it allows us to believe that we are separate. And
we're going to have to take a short break. This is so interesting. Belinda, you hang with us. We will return to our discussion after this short break. You're listening to The Science of Magic. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Do you want to hear more? Other innovative episodes can always be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com. Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, a place where magic and science come together to promote enlightenment. We can be found on www.thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our special guest this hour is Belinda Womack, scientist, spiritual counsel, and channel. She's the author of Lessons of the 12 Archangels, Divine Intervention in Daily Life. Welcome back, Belinda.
It's wonderful to be here.
We were talking about ego and how it has a function, but we need to drive the ego rather than the ego driving us. And I found that a really interesting way of looking at it. You know, so often ego is either totally taken seriously as if that's all there is our ego, or judged against. And it's that beautiful middle ground that gives us a place to be in the world and at the same time not be controlled by it. I'd like to talk a little bit about guardian angels, if you would. How do they differ from the archangels?
Well, guardian angels are daily supporters, and they travel with us throughout every incarnation, and they really do help us to learn our lessons here on Schoolroom Earth. So they're with us all the time, and very often we get to know them in early childhood.
So most children are able to see their guardian angels, or just some?
Well, every child can see their guardian angel. Again, it all depends on what they're encouraged to talk about. So, but they definitely see and experience their angels. They may not call them angels, but they're definitely connected.
So maybe even the imaginary playmates that often children have.
Yes.
Gotcha. So, working shamanically, I've come to see everything as having spirit, and thus the ability to communicate with us and through us and teach us. So, each according to its nature, of course. So, how does that fit in here? The spirits of nature, the spirits of water, air, earth, and fire. How do you see that as fitting in?
Well, the 12 archangels are also the same as those spirits of the elements and of the directions. They're just called archangels in this terminology. And that's why the 12 archangels, they don't really like to talk about their names, because they say, you can learn our names in many different cultures. We are as ancient as the heart of God.
And that makes sense, doesn't it? Because they are from the heart of God? Is that the way you see it?
Well, sure. We all come from the central sun, or the heart of the universe, the heart of the Creator. We all come from the Creator, and that's where these 12 archangels come from. Their number 12 is symbolic. It represents the 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 months of the year. So it just represents cycles. So we are always evolving. And so, yes, those spirits that we connect with in trees and water and animals, and they're all the same. They're all holding that unconditional love for us to help us evolve.
I remember when I was working with my teacher, he lived alone. It's not that he wasn't married, but he spent a lot of his time out in nature by himself. And I remember as a young woman wondering, doesn't he get bored? Doesn't he get lonely? And yet he never seemed to be any of the above. And this would explain it, that connection with all that is, how can one be lonely?
Absolutely. Everything has the spirit and is connected back to that Creator. So we can communicate to the Creator through everything on our planet.
And yet we think of ourselves alone and isolated. It's really kind of sad when you think about it. Would you mind telling us about the 12 archangels? Why exactly are there 12 of them?
Well, again, their number is symbolic, and it represents transformation and new cycles of evolution, because that's why we're here on planet Earth, is to remember the great value of love, to experience that it is the greatest power. We're here to learn how to use that power of love to transform fear, which is just a low vibration, and to then experience love. So that's why there are 12 of them.
Well, heaven knows we need them, because it looks like most things in ordinary reality are designed to propagate fear rather than alleviate it. Is that the way you see it?
I do not see it that way, simply probably because I work with these angels, and the more we walk in love and bring in love, then that's what we experience. And that's how we, human beings, we really do have the potential to create heaven on earth. Heaven is a vibration of unconditional love. And we can bring it right here, right now. And as we do that, it makes it a lot easier to see angels, to feel them, to communicate with nature. It all works.
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? And it's just an attitude away. So what's the core teaching of the archangels?
Their core teaching is to believe in love as an energy and to bring love where love is missing. We human beings, we have a deep subconscious that is full of fear because we just are sponges. But we can work with this love as an energy. We can transform that subconscious. We can transform those low vibration feelings, and we can fill up with love, experience those miracles, and change our reality. We change our reality from the inside out.
So how do you see changing the reality from the inside out? Would you mind expounding?
So our fears, empowered by our emotions, create our reality. They create the events that we experience, because we create just like our Creator creates. Our thoughts are our light, our feelings are our sound, our Creator creates with light and sound. So if we understand that, we want to really focus on the vibration of our thoughts and our feelings. And we want to understand, hey, if they're at a low vibration, meaning there's lots of fear, then that's what we're going to magnify, and that could be what we create. So we want to create heaven on earth. So we want to bring the love into those negative thoughts. We want to catch them. We want to transform them. We want to feel our feelings, and if we're feeling rage or guilt or anything that, again, pulls us down or contracts us, well, we want to transform it, because we can. And we can do that with our chakra energies, which are just full of love, then we're working with love in God's colors. It's just like God's rainbow of colors. It's right inside of us. We have access to those energies, and we can work with them to transform the fear that we find in our minds and our emotions. We can change it and experience love.
So what I'm hearing you say is that we don't try to put our negative emotions into denial, but rather observe them so we can transform them. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
You know, this is, I think, one of the places that a lot of teachings fall down is they judge against what we feel, and so we're supposed to pretend we feel something different rather than be aware of what's moving through us. Putting it in denial doesn't keep it from having an effect in our world and manifesting, does it?
Absolutely not. And if we go into denial, then we're not being authentic, and then those low vibration feelings just get shoved down into our subconscious, and our subconscious can potentially drive our choice making by 90% or greater. So then our subconscious is steering the car instead of our consciousness, and then we really don't want that. We want our hearts to be guiding us forward.
Yeah, if we have our subconscious steering the car, there's nobody that can see driving us down the road. That could get a little scary, huh?
Perfectly said. I love how you put that.
So, from what I'm hearing you say is we are always manifesting something, and if we shove most of what we're feeling into the subconscious, we're unconsciously manifesting. But if we're willing to look at what we're feeling and transmute it, then we have the potential of changing it to manifest love in the world. Is this accurate?
Yes, it's very accurate. And we all need to learn to love transformation. It's like we all need to be a shaman.
Very beautifully put. Very beautifully put. Well, your book, the Lessons from the 12 Archangels, I got to look at it some. I'm really excited to look at it more, and we will discuss it more thoroughly on the other side of this short break. We'll be back on the flip side of this short break. You're listening to The Science of Magic. Our theme song, One People, One Nation, is from the Winds of Time album by my musical group Starfire and can be found on iTunes.com, cdbaby.com, amazon.com, and my website, gwildawiyaka.com.
One people, one nation, searching through the night.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school, training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, a place where magic and science come together to promote enlightenment. We can be found on www.thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Belinda Womack, scientist, spiritual counselor, and channel. She's the author of Lessons of the 12 Archangels, Divine Intervention in Daily Life. Her website, www.belindawomack.com. Belinda, we were talking about the importance of not shoving our feelings into denial as they're still bubbling up and creating things we might not like. So why is it important to do this kind of work, this processing and communing with the angels?
Again, what we want to do is raise our vibration. If we remember that our ego can believe in fear, and we are here to buy into the illusion of fear, so we choose love. It's really about us learning how to choose love. So we want to bring that love into our subconscious so that we raise our vibration and cleanse that fear out of our vessels so that we make room for love.
That's beautifully stated. You speak a lot of creating a happy childhood, and yet a lot of us have had anything but. So what do you mean by creating a happy childhood, and why is it so important to achieving our goals and manifesting abundance?
We can create a happy childhood. We can do that right now. We can actually do that today. We have the power within us to transform the past, which is really important for us human beings to remember and to use that power. So whatever happened to us in childhood, I had a pretty horrific childhood too, but we can change it, and we can experience the miracles that really come from being a safe and happy child, God's child, right, in our daily life right now. So to have a happy childhood as an adult allows us to really feel and commune with angels and with our Creator and experience freedom. There's nothing happier than a happy child.
Yes, and it's, I heard it said one time that if you're alive, your parents did their job. And I think so often we lose ourselves in commiserating over what did and didn't happen as we were growing up, that we forget that it's simply a matter of reframing to recognize the gifts that we can develop as a result of the tempering that we went through as children. Is that kind of what you're talking about here?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And we actually sign up for our families. We sign up for our parents. And our childhood story is often a reframing of lessons that we brought in from a past life. And it's a setup so that, again, we get to know the value of love. But it's a choice. We can stay in our wounded childhoods, or we can transform it and create the happy childhood that we want right now, and then go and help others.
So it's a choice between victimhood and personal empowerment, and it's a personal choice. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. Belinda, and you can please say no if you don't want to, but would you be willing to channel a message from your angels for our listeners to help guide us at this time?
I just need to be honest, I'm not going to be able to do that because of the echo on the line.
A little hard to stay focused, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's not like you haven't been channeling the whole interview, so I don't think it's a problem. So why, as I see it, we're at a very critical time in our evolution. How can the angels and communicating with them enable us to transcend our limitations and be of the service you were speaking?
It helps to remember that we can create the change that we want to see in the world, just like Gandhi said, from inside of ourselves. As we continue to transform our own hostility, our own anger and rage, that makes an incredible positive impact on what the world also experiences, because we are all one.
So it goes back to unity, doesn't it? That illusion of separateness is what causes us to be able to perform abominations on the planet. And yet if we realize that all of us are part of the same being, I think that would just go away. In the lessons from the 12 Archangels, they say that humanity has the ability to live on Earth as we do in heaven. Can you go into this a little bit for us?
Heaven is a vibration of pure love, of unconditional love. So when we bring that vibration into ourselves by breathing it in and saying, thank you, my Creator, for filling me with unconditional love and respect for my humanity, then that shifts our vibration. And because we create our reality from the inside out, we're going to have more of heaven's vibration by the hour. And we do this for all of humanity. With every shift we make within, we help that outer story to change for everyone.
So kind of like the 100th monkey.
You can look at it that way. Yeah, we're all in it
So the more
together.
of us that participate, the stronger the vibration of love that's present, and the more that people can align with it.
Yes, always. But even one person can make a huge difference.
Yeah, and that to me speaks of the strength of love, that it's a more natural expression for us, that one person standing in it can shift so much more than you can any other way. So how can anyone communicate with the 12 archangels?
Just through their intention. All they need to do is to say, I welcome the 12 archangels to help me in my evolution, and to help me to help others. These angels love to help healers and those who are engaged in raising consciousness.
Well, I would highly recommend anyone with an interest in evolution to read your book, Lessons of the 12 Archangels, Divine Intervention in Daily Life. Where can people find it, Belinda?
They can find it at Amazon.com. They can order it through the publisher, which is InnerTraditions.com. They can also order a signed copy from my website, BelindaWomack.com.
And can you give people advice about, you say if you come into a place of unconditional love and ask for help from the angels, that they'll be there. How can you recognize when you're hearing the angels versus just your own inner thoughts?
Well, the angels say it doesn't really matter. What you want to do is take positive action, and you want to open yourself to receive help. So just trusting our intuition, we're going to connect with all of our helpers in heaven.
Does it sound kind of like your internal voice when you hear something from them?
It feels different.
Can you explain that a little?
It sounds just like that, but it feels a bit different. Because angels can just hold that vibration of unconditional love so clearly, and it's so pure, and it comes through as a euphoric expansion. And that's the way that it feels different.
So kind of in your heart?
Definitely a heart thing.
Well, that would feel different, particularly if we're not used to living from our heart. Belinda, It's been absolutely wonderful having you on the show, and thank you for your wonderful contribution to this work and to the world and to the people in it. And this has been The Science of Magic. Remember, you can always listen to this and other thought-provoking episodes on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. Until next time, dear listeners, may you be blessed with knowledge, comforted with love, and rest well in the arms of your angels.